Hi guys, just Mike here and welcome back to my channel. Hope you guys are keeping well. So you've decided to take up the daunting task of taking charge of a country's national team. Here are a few things you should do before taking charge of your first game. The first thing for me guys is also vitally important when I play pretty much all of my saves is to make sure that the large database is turned on. Now obviously I know some people on certain devices can't do this, but if it is an option for you, I definitely would turn it on as it gives you a larger pool of players to choose from in the national database. At the start you will be given a pre-selected squad to begin with. Rather than just trying to pick a few players out that you might want to keep, I would suggest just start from the beginning and remove all the players from the national team. You will now be given a clean slate to work from and start creating your own legacy. We then move on to picking the players. Now obviously this is vitally important and can actually change a disastrous campaign into a successful one by having good strength in depth. Now the way I go about this is obviously going position by position, but also just make sure that the nationality is set to the correct one at the top. So obviously going through by goalkeeper and obviously then into the next position to defender left, and just making sure that you kind of got all bases covered and enough players in your squad. Experience is always vital in every single team, but don't let any sentimental feelings towards the veterans cloud your judgment. Your most capped player doesn't always deserve a call-up. Also be sure to keep an eye on players' form, as throughout the season some unknown player could be banging goals and you wouldn't even know about it. The key thing really to take away from this is don't call players up just based on their caps or their value. Now you normally get anywhere between 23 to 26 players for each competition or friendly match, so you need to make sure you have at least a plan A and definitely a plan B if not C as well. So you basically need to pick as many players with as much versatility as you can to fit into your squad. I tend to work on the principle of having 2 goalkeepers, 2 defender lefts, 2 defender rights, 1 defender that can play left and right, 4 defender centrals, 2 players that can play in the defensive midfield slot, 3 players that can play just as a normal central midfielder, 2 that can play as an attacking midfield central, 2 that can play left and right in the attacking midfield positions, 2 that can play left, right and central attacking midfields as well as possible forwards, and then 3 to 4 strikers depending on how many positions I've got left. Basically this is just a guide, but the more versatility in your squad you have, the better. We now look at comparing the players. Now this is somewhat of an overlooked feature that's in Football Manager Mobile, but it's something that I use throughout all of my saves. It's obviously the way that I find the best player for each position and role within my team. The player comparison tool isn't just used to see which number is higher, it's also to see which player suits your style of play better. This can also be used to kind of find future replacements. So obviously Lloris has quite a decent amount of time left in him, but you do need to look for the future, so you have to compare your younger goalkeepers throughout the season just to see how they're kind of fitting up and will they fit the role once the more experienced player retires. I mean, there's no real point in having a really successful campaign with a group of players that are 30 plus years old, and then the next opportunity that comes through and form a game, they may not be the player that they once were. So you need to get the right balance of youngsters and experience in your squad. I mean, I try to tend to have at least 1 for each role and blood them in into like friendlies and possibly against lesser teams in certain competitions where you may have, secured the win by being like 3-0 up and there's 20 minutes left to play. Just give them kind of some game times, and this will obviously help develop their attributes. We then move on to the formation. So you obviously really need to work to your team's strengths. There's no kind of winning formation that will win you every single match. You do really need to kind of tweak it throughout the season and throughout the games and depending on who you're playing against. I would say that this is kind of something that France would probably work along the lines of, because they haven't got a massive pool of world-class strikers. However, saying that though, they do have a really good talented bunch of attacking midfielders. Obviously they also have a decent array of kind of midfielders that can kind of drop a bit deeper, so I think this was a very well balanced formation for the French national team to play. But we'll just reiterate this again, that obviously there isn't really just one formation that you can kind of just stick with throughout a season. I always find it's best just to tweak it throughout the season, and especially with whoever you're playing against, you will need to change your possible roles or instructions to kind of suit that as well. One thing I also like to do is right at the start of the game is just to check the world rankings and just keep my eye on that throughout the save. Kind of to have a little bit more fun, because obviously I know it can be quite dull with international management. So just keep checking back and kind of set yourself little challenges and make sure you're climbing up in the right direction. And obviously that leads to better reputation, which then turns into better Evo gens or regens or whatever you want to call them. So just keep your eye on that throughout the save. Last but not least is just keep searching, constantly keep looking at players' forms, go on to the average rating, see who's performing well, because as I mentioned before, you might just be not spotting your players tonight, but might only be worth £1 million, but if they're banging goals in at a certain level, it might be worth just having a look at them and building them in a few friendlies. Also, another thing is just make sure you check out on players who are an option to play for your nationality. So obviously this player here on the screen, he's actually Ivorian, but he can actually play for the French national team. And the last thing you want to happen is for him to start performing absolutely amazing throughout the save, and then he's already been called up to the Ivory Coast and you can't call him up. So when you start seeing a player slightly developing, you might just want to get him in just to give him a cap, so you've now got him and you've locked him down for future games. That's it guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please show your support by smashing the like button. I have been Just Mike Plays, and as always guys, I will speak to you legends soon.